Gonna start this trailer in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's see how this is gonna go. Because they showed us the last trailer, and it wasn't the best with the Joker.
These pies even have anything in them?
Certainly, this one's about to have your face in it.
Your big good barrage is over, Rabbit.
Oh wow. Okay, at least I put that in animation form.
Wanna see a magic trick?
Oh, okay.
Oh no.
That Matrix
evil
soundtrack.
clown. Never seen one of those before.
Mathematical!
You realize, of course, this means
Oh, okay, they changed that.
how's that for a finisher?
Okay, this is looking very Fortnite-y. Oh, Townsville!
Oh, that's a cute little toy you got there.
Oh, Marvin Martian!
It is an Acme Bubble Blaster. Isn't it, love?
Hey now! It ain't polite to point weapons at a lady.
You have made me very angry.
It didn't even hit.
Think I know someone else that's angry.
Forgotten what his name was. Oh, it's a good and bad guy fighting each other? Oh, okay. Can it change size? The weapon didn't want to be a weapon. That was the whole point.
Sword, check. Shield, check.
Evil Wonder Woman?
Thirst for battle? Always check.
Oh, okay. Is this like the new mode?
The only version of me I trust is me!
Oh wait, no, not this one. Let's try. Sorry, Bruce, I'm not here. Nuh-uh, too cheery. I hate meddling kids.
Okay, he can't swear, really.
Surrender, Joker. You're outnumbered.
I usually work alone. But for you,
Jason Voorhees? Agent Smith. Okay. Oh, wait, who is the new other characters they're gonna bring in? Okay, I'm not gonna. I was gonna say I'm not gonna lie, but I like how they keep adding the Matrix motif into it. Okay, okay. I was surprised by the agent motif. Okay. Also, Banana Guard in Multiversus is a good idea. I didn't realize Banana Guard was gonna be in the game, but I also have zero interest in Banana Guard because even though it's Adventure Time, it's kind of like not sure. Still needs work on the music. This is the main problem I'm having with this at the moment. Is there is nothing. There's not a sense of pizzazz. There's too much. Oh, it's too movie like and not enough cartoon elements to it where it feels like shock and awe. Hi Mongoose, happy Faz Day. Welcome to the stream. So I'm still being judgmental about it, but honestly, it's at least better than what we had with the Joker trailer. The Joker trailer was kind of like it's okay. And I'm not sure if I feel like I'm like backpedaling a bit, but it felt it doesn't really. I'm not really surprised. That's all it is. I was surprised with Agent Smith in this one. Jason Voorhees was probably the big surprise. But at the same time, there's no sense of. It's very cartoon, you know. It's very cartoon-like. So we'll see how wide they go. The question I've said I was having this in the conversation earlier with Supersonic, and the main thing I'm having a problem with is like the question that was posed to me was, is this going to be better than Smash Bros? Could you see a world where multiverses be better than Smash Bros? And I'm gonna say to you at this point in time, no, but because it will take a long time, and the hype and the uncertainty of what you were expecting from something like Smash Bros is far higher than what you would expect from WB. For example, WB's got like a crap ton of characters, and that's fair. It's got a crap ton of IPs it can work off of, from movies to videos to music videos to wrestlers to whatever. And the thing is, the question comes down to how that entire dynamic is balanced, in my opinion. Whereas with Smash Bros, because most of its first party IPs were kind of well represented in the game, the question when it came to the DLC stuff was always the third party stuff. Like, how are they representing those characters? The intrigue on that was different. The IPs that could be involved was different. The collaborations could be different. How all of those conversations would happen would be different. All of it felt like no matter what character got in the end, it was good because all of it felt like a surprise. No matter what character it was, whether it was a character you didn't like or did like, in the end, it was always a surprise. It never stopped. Whereas with Multiverses, I feel like WB needs to do a better, needs to work on its, I want to say marketing, I don't know if it's the right word, but its presentation of the game should be surrounded by the characters that are being brought in, but at the same time, should be a massive deal when it does. Like, playing devil's advocate, I agree with you. Do you think Nintendo in general gaming bias is at place? No, because, well, yes and no, I guess is probably the best way to describe it, because Smash Bros has been around for 20 years. That's also lowballing the time. We're saying 20 to 24 years now. So Smash Bros being around and being, I wouldn't say the only game in town, but the biggest game in town, has bias. You can't not. Everyone that did, if you want to make a Smash Bros clone, you go to the best. The thing with Multiverses and subsequently PlayStation All Stars is that with Multiverses, they're trying to do something different, and we gotta respect that. The issue with Multiverses is that it's not hitting hard enough, whereas Smash Bros, when it brought in characters, it hit hard. They emphasized everything. The music was exciting. There was never a version of the character that felt there was never a version of a character that felt like it was underhyped. The story they told showed interactions that you wouldn't normally have before. If it's just a party thing where everybody comes in and it's expected, you need to tell a story with these characters. You need to tell a story with these characters where it's like, not in what capacity. It doesn't have to have a good reasoning, but a reasoning where it makes sense for the character to jump in. This is why Sephiroth, out of all the characters, Sephiroth is the one character that to me makes the least amount of sense in Smash Bros. Because one, it's a character that is already represented for Final Fantasy VII. It could have been any other character. They could put in Garland in there, a more iconic character for Nintendo because it was on the Nintendo Entertainment System. But they went with Sephiroth. But the way they presented it was that there were other threats. There were other stories to be told. The idea was, not only is the big bad in Smash Bros. Not on my level, it's nothing compared to what I'm about to bring to the table. That's how hyped Sephiroth was. He's got an iconic theme, an iconic look. His story is well known. The likelihood of that character was so left field, and the presentation of his character, despite the fact that he didn't kill anybody, where you see him with like recreating scenes from his own thing, it was all fan service. It was all exciting because it was. You could take it funny, you could take it exciting, you could take it, like, you could say horror filled if you want to put it that way, like the way they presented it. It felt like you were watching a cutscene from Crisis Core. That's basically it. Like, that's how I see Sephiroth's character out of all the characters from the DLC list, at the very least, or even just characters that was added. Sephiroth felt like the one character that was the most out of left field. Like, even Sora, to a certain degree, like, the one thing that made Sora's the most interesting in that sense was because Sora's character was this, people wanted him for so long, and the question was, is how likely would it be? So, yeah, there is bias, because we've seen it done so much better. And I've said this when we were playing Multiverses way back when. It can be done so well. And the better example of that is Rivals of Ether. The only downside is that Rivals of Ether just does not have the resources or the same sort of reverence as Smash Bros. Might bring to the table. And Rivals of Ether has tried really hard to make that happen. They've tried absolutely hard. I think the only thing they might be lacking is the idea of being on multiple platforms at the same time and having a sense of like I don't think they can do like custom cutscenes like Smash Bros had the ability to do, because making those cutscenes, making those animatics were expensive. Like that was the whole point, and it was only used for the one thing. They with Multiverses, I think if it was me trying to, I wouldn't say trying to take over marketing, but where I want the story beats to be, put it at events where you are definitely going to learn about a new character, really hype up what that character brings to the table, and make every impact matter. Like they need to, like it's still lacking in that sort of umph with the character. And like I said, you've seen it in Smash Bros. You've seen how well they are literally the blueprint. You can copy and paste it for anything, and it would work. I think a good example of that might have been Power the Grid, because when they had the opportunity to bring in the character, they really showed them off. They really did everything they could to say, like, this is not only a representation of their specific Power Ranger set, but they were also specific to their specific playstyle. And Battle for the Grid, sorry, not Power of the Grid. Battle for the Grid just worked in that sense. It's too bad that we haven't seen like a more polished version of that game. I hope we do get to see it, but generally speaking, that's where I'm at with it. I want, like, I can't, and here's the other thing. I can't not put WB on on a higher standard here. I need to put them on a higher standard personally, because as much as I want to say this is good, and there were some really good moments in here. They showed two new characters that were surprised. I didn't know anything about Jason Voorhees. There was a whole thing with Agent Smith way back when. Obviously, we were still waiting on Neo and a few other characters, but they really need to up the ante of how those characters are going to be presented in game. If anything, each individual character should mean a big deal. It should just mean a big deal outright. WB has the resources, but at the moment, if they're going to do things this way, at some point down the line, I'm just going to be like, okay, fine. But their competition is not Smash Bros. Their competition will end up being Brawlhalla. And let's be fair, depending on who you are, how many people play Brawlhalla? How many people even know Brawlhalla exists? How many people even know that Brawlhalla still exists? Those are the questions you kind of end up asking, at least from a sort of a viewing point where I am. It's a case of like I know what Brawlhalla is because I have friends who didn't get a chance to play Smash Bros. And they wanted to play something that was similar to Smash Bros. But it was free. Brawlhalla provided that. And so really that seems to be the better competition piece. But Brawlhalla has had almost, I think, maybe 10-ish years. It's not been around that long, but I think it was around about 10-ish years of competitions that they've been running for this entire time. And it's free to play, and it's easy to understand, and they don't usually have iconic characters. They have done stuff with WWE. They have done stuff with, with other Ubisoft first parties, like, I think they brought in the Assassins, and they brought in, I remember me and my friend playing Brawlhalla the week before Ultimate came out. Yeah, and the thing is, your skills transfer in Brawlhalla. If you know enough about Smash Bros, most of your skill sets work in Brawlhalla, and you don't need Smash Bros to play, but it is still not Smash Bros. That's kind of the main problem with a game like that to exist, is that it is gonna always be not Smash Bros. So yeah, there's gonna be some level of bias regardless of the situation, and it's not a Nintendo bias by any stretch, or even just a gaming bias. It's the fact that how many times have you heard Twitter go down before Elon got involved? Twitter go down because a character got announced. How many times have you heard that happen? How many times have you heard that, like, even if you just had a cursory knowledge, the fact that Steve the Minecraft got involved into Smash Bros, it was a meltdown. They melted down on that. Joker, on thing, like they still reference it to this day. Like nobody expected Persona to be in Smash Bros, but it did. Microsoft shutting down Twitter is still so crazy. Exactly right, and it was during Minecon, a event that had nothing to do with Smash Bros. But during that specific event, that story beat worked so well. It worked so well because nobody expected it. I think. No, I think they had a. It wasn't that they didn't expect it. I think it was a case of it was like they did a Nintendo Direct right before Minecon had happened. I think that was what it was. I think I could probably go find the old reaction stuff. But this is why I will always and here's the other thing. Like I said, I'm gonna in the end that is gonna be the bias when I look at the my history with stuff like this. I'm gonna look at Smash Bros as a time where everybody came together to take part and wonder the exact same thing. WB's got an advantage that it's got such a vast IP set that anything can be included. The question will come down to how they set those story beats. If they introduce 4 or 5 characters at the same time, it's going to be a bit pointless. Honestly speaking, I think it actually dilutes the type of characters you could have. I think they need to have less characters, but they need to have those characters mean impact or give them reasons to existing the way they did. I would say have each year be a season of a character, maybe at best 10 characters. Even then, that's still to me too much. And use those as stepping points for what the year is meant to provide. So, for example, if Batgirl wants to be a character, that's fine, but try to prevent a whole Bat family situation because everybody wants her to see a Bat family. Your question will come down to whether the Bat family will how that affects the full experience of the game. In Smash Bros, you have Team Smash effectively. You get to have 5 characters, Smashdown or Squad Strike, and even though those features aren't used as much, that's because to me personally, I think Nintendo should just encourage team-based combat. Like have people come up in teams as teams of 5 and do that as a yearly thing, as opposed to emphasizing the single combat. Not because it shouldn't be a thing, but because it encourages more people to play the game, in my humble opinion. But if right now, as things stand, the 2v2 is the main thing, and that's good. Except for when you get to a point where there's too many characters where a 2v2 isn't the only type of game you can do. I would say a 5v5 would be a good one. Or if you want to have a squad strike style tournament where you have an esports like team setup, where you can have the Bat family or you can have the team of supers. Like imagine for a second Crypto the Superdog just ends up becoming available, but it ends up having the exact same moveset as Superman is going to be lame, personally. If but you need more bipedal characters, right? You need more quadruped characters. So there's that. And then there's also characters like the Shazam family, and then you gotta look at the villains type stuff. The villains you need to have far less of because they have much more reverence, but they need to be powerhouses in all of the things they do. They just need to be better in almost every single way in that presentation style. So yeah, for me personally, I can go on like quite a few different ways of going about it, but Smash Bros is always going to be that high bar to set, and there isn't going to be another franchise like Smash Bros to exist unless, for me personally, I think it will probably end up being something like Rivals of Ether, where they take over that mantle but working at it from an indie level. WB is somewhere in the middle, where WB is their main competition is Ubisoft. That's because they're in the same market, free to play games, adding in iconic IPs. The only real difference is at the moment WB has iconic. Smash was already topped. What do you mean it was already topped? Not gonna lie, I think Racing Transformed. I don't know if I can include that because there's not enough characters. Honestly speaking, does Smash have Danica Patrick? No, it doesn't. You know what? You're right about that. I am still wondering why this game hasn't been modded to the end of days to see All Stars have more characters. It's a surprise in a nutshell, to say the least. Minecraft Steve shutting down Twitter is still true. Not gonna lie, I think they need to add Teen Titans or some of them to rely on the DC universe for a while. No, I agree. Teen Titans is a good shout. I actually like the main character people want to see is Raven, Cyborg. I think the main one would be Raven and Starfire, and then maybe having Garth. Like the problem with the art style that it has is that it is very much leaning on the cartoony art style. So characters that looked more pristine, like Agent Smith, get like, honestly speaking, I don't know if I like Agent Smith's art style. I think Jason Voorhees look makes sense, but it's literally because of Splatterhouse, I think that's what it's called. There was a character that looked like I've forgotten what the main character's name was, but there's a game called Splatterhouse where Jason Voorhees it was basically a Jason Voorhees clone, and now it feels like it's full circle. Jason Voorhees looks like the character from Splatterhouse. So to me, the art style is kind of the main thing that might be either taking aspects away from it. Dragon Ball Fighters is a very good example of it, of really working in your IPs in a manner where having a variety or having the multiversal aspect be a surprise. But there has to be an end. I actually think so. It's one of the things that I think PlayStation All Stars flopped on, which was it had great ideas but didn't celebrate its characters enough to feel like that. Did you see that? Did you talk about that? Did you speak about that? Did you reference that? Like, do you know how many times? Remember when Castlevania, I think, was mentioned for the first time, and they brought in, I believe it was Richter and Simon, and it was Simon and Richter in the same trailer, and they offed Luigi, and they tweeted out Luigi is okay, and it was fine. Budokai Tenkaichi has Goku mid, though, so that Solo's in terms of characters, yeah. But he's like Goku base form, Goku Super Saiyan, Goku thing. But the ones that were surprising was how they dealt with GT Goku and the GT forms, because people really liked the GT forms. That's the thing. Like having Super Ozaru and those stories being implemented. The idea of Janemba being a character that people enjoyed. Cell is another one. So like or having Cell Max as a character. All of these little things that kind of help implement these ideas of what could be brought to the table type situation. I think I'm being told. So we'll see. Like I said, we'll see how we're looking on a lot of it. But yeah, my point with it is, Multiversus is, like I said this 2 years ago. I'm still gonna say it now. Multiversus has got a long way to go to prove that it is on the level of what Smash Bros. Did. And I'm going to keep saying this until the cows come home. They need to do more community outreach. They just have to. The only way people are going to not talk about Multiversus is... No, because the thing is, I don't think the game will tank. I think the game will do relatively well if they keep supporting it. The issue isn't that I don't think they'll support it. The issue is WB. Right now, Warner Bros. Has a terrible reputation for stopping a project midway through. And Multiversus was a good example of a game that could have worked, but if it came out 2 years ago, you know, and it was continuous in terms of its thing. Because the thing is, Nickelodeon's doing might have an alright launch, but probably die down very quick. It will, because there'll be too much. The thing I had a problem with the beta was there was too much happening all at the same time. There was too many new characters all the time. I could not keep up with it. And anytime I wanted to, if I wanted to do content on it, while there's so much you can do, there's not an interest in doing it. At least not with the way it is. So if WB really focuses in on that tournament aspect, that community outreach, and getting it at events, these are the main key parts. It's going to be really draining for them to do it, but once it starts to work, it will work great. Because it's the one thing that I feel like Brawlhalla doesn't do this enough. Ubisoft, I feel like, misses the trick when it comes to games that people can play. Example of this, Pokken. Pokken is like a 3 to 4 year old, a 7-year-old game now. Technically a 10-year-old game now. And when we're at Pokemon Internationals, that is still the most played game. You know why? Because it's the easiest game to jump into. It's literally, we jump on, it's different from the other Pokemon games. It's really different from all the other Pokemon games, and anyone can jump into it. It's great. Always the biggest queue. Always the one where everyone can play Scarlet and Violet, everyone can play things, but if they just want to play a game where they can just jump in and learn a character and fight against new people and have a good time, Pokken is the game. Every single time. You know what could have also been that? Pokemon Unite. I don't know why they don't. I don't know why they don't just have free setups just to play Pokemon Unite. But dude, like Pokken is the game that will can garner so much goodwill for Pokemon, and it takes so little time, and it annoys me every single time. You need games like that are just pick up, takes less than 5 minutes to play. Anybody can jump into it. You can come back to it in any number of times. Play new characters, but you'll still have the gist of the game. That's what Multiversus can do. That's what Smash Bros did. Smash Bros still does that. They'll have Smash Bros at a random event and it might not matter, but the fact is, because it's there, people will play it because people will want to play against each other. Oh, you know what? I want to play as Minecraft Steve versus Sonic the Hedgehog. Why not? You know? I want to have all these characters. It just makes sense to me. I to have these characters just games to just play. I would love to see Dissidia come back again. It might be a little bit complicated to get back into, but I would still want to see Dissidia there. I want to see Foam Stars at events. Main thing I'm trying to get at is I want these games to be at events because they're very good pick up and play style games that it doesn't take long to understand. And you know what? Even if it doesn't have the attention as it used to have, the fact that it exists for me to be able to play and it doesn't take long to get into makes me feel nostalgic, makes me feel like I can play with people and people will play them. That's my tirade on that. Like, these games deserve to be at events. Multiversus deserves to be at events. Bring them to bloody events and start actually showing them off. Otherwise, you're just wasting my time. Honestly, the first aspect is getting people to play it. The second aspect is finding people to play. That's it. Why do you think the arcade scene was so popular way back in the... Sorry, I'm just angry now. I'm so frustrated by this. Because it's just... I'm so frustrated by this because I see this all the time. I feel like it's right there, but it takes time. You need to tell people that the game exists, and you need to do this over a good long period. That's why it works when it's a longer period of play. Why do you think people still want to play Pokken? Like, people might not play it on stream. That's true, but people want to find people to play with. If there are events more often, 9 times out of 10. They will be willing to play it. They've just got to put it there. It just needs a space. It doesn't need a whole thing. But damn, man, just put it out there. All Stars Battle for PlayStation, would make sense. You know, it could make sense because people can finally stop comparing it. But at the very least, it's there. They should have released the game now and then add characters and do these trailers later on. They should have already released the thing, and they should have really emphasized being at Evo and CEO and all of this. Yeah, it's not a bad thing that they did offline it, but the problem is we've seen it. So until the game comes out and it actually does better than it has a thriving community, which is the problem with people who've played games for a long time. There's always that wait and see approach, especially for me with Overwatch. Overwatch 2. Oh, by the way, I think some people might be waiting for me to play, but if they are wanting me to play, make yourselves be known so that I can actually start moving on. But with like with Overwatch, for example, Overwatch has got a bad reputation because of all the Activision stuff, right? And I'm still like on the fence of playing that game because of that specific aspect. I don't want to not play it if people want to play, but at this moment in time, there's not enough of a reason for me to play it. I think more people either can need to peer pressure me to playing it, or generally speaking, there needs to be a better reputation. And at the moment, Xbox does not have the best reputation. It's still too fresh. So to me, the wait and see approach is the main reason why things don't happen accordingly. I wouldn't say it's strike weather. It's been review bombed to hell on Steam. Are we talking about Overwatch 2? Yeah. But people still play it. People enjoy that game. I was watching other people play that game, and I'm really there for the people, not for the game. But at the same time, it's like people want to play Overwatch 2. And I have no problems people wanting to play it. I have a problem with trying to see it as a game of quality that is worth my time. Because there's so many other games out there that is worth my time that I don't want to see a game. I don't want to spend time playing a game with people only to then, when it's on my own, I don't want to boot it up. That's just it. Like, I don't want to buy a game that I know I'm just not going to boot up on my own. Multiverses is could end up in that area. Like Fortnite, I can have fun with, but I have it downloaded just in case people want to play. Call of Duty, same situation. Like, if people want to play, I'm happy to play it. But I don't have a vested interest in the franchise in general, not because I don't like it, but because of other reasons that really does a disservice to the games. That's basically it. Pokken is the same thing. So I really want to enjoy what is out there, but it has to earn my time now. Like, we're not in the 90s anymore, and we're definitely past the gacha era. We need to have games that are worth the time of investment, because now currency is not going to matter. It's the time of how long it takes to be enjoying these games in a long period, because every other game's going to want our attention. Multiversus is not the only game out there. Tekken is doing great right now. Street Fighter 6 especially is doing great right now. We've also got Guilty Gear Strive and all of these other fighters. You may not compare them, but that is still time that it takes. And then the other side of it is how, at least we're talking about this community here, how they approach it. We're playing All Stars Racing Transformed, a game that's more than 10 bloody years old, and yet still somehow, we're playing that more than Mario Kart. I'm still, that's how I look at it. Anyway, I've rambled on enough. You get my point. I think you get my point. But yeah, I'm wanting Multiversus to do well. I just want Multiversus to do well. I don't want to be disappointed by another game that will suddenly be dead in the service in a year, because a year is a short period of time when you're playing games. It's a case of they need to do more than just the time. They need to do things that are outside of that element to do it. Like with content creators, we have to work with multiple different platforms to be successful at one platform, because everything either needs to go into one platform or everything needs to go to other platforms so it reaches new people all the time. That's the idea. The same rules apply to Multiverses, because that's how they deal with every other IP. We're going to be going into that generation where is also more alive than TSR, Team Sonic Racing. I think so. But then again, if we all started playing Team Sonic Racing tomorrow and we all enjoyed it, then it's more alive than transformed. It just really comes down to who's interested in it at a time. If Fadal decides that, oh, I want to do All Stars Racing Transform, if Argic decides he wants to play All Stars Racing Transform or T Sonic Racing, then they're all alive and well. People still haven't forgotten these games. People haven't forgotten about Sonic Unleashed. People haven't forgotten about Sonic Colors. People haven't forgotten about Black Knight and so many other games. People haven't forgotten about Overwatch 1 and its heydays, Batman Arkham series. All of those games are timeless at this point. So, yeah, maybe a drop-off, but people haven't forgotten about it. It's just a case of whether